All right. Hello, everybody. This is Twintail.
And Rikka.
Yep, and we're here in San Gabriel proper. This is the final North American Last-Chance Qualifier for none other than Shadowverse Evolve. So, of course, this is a Shadowverse Evolve video with the two of us again. Right now, they're currently in top 8. We both, as I have suggested, we're definitely not in top 8.
Yeah.
So
we're pretty much chilling at the moment.
So, you know, it was a 135-person event, 8 rounds of Swiss. How do we feel?
Pretty good showing overall, I would say. Definitely shout outs to people coming from Southern California, even other places like NorCal, even some people coming from the East Coast, like a lot of different representatives. I know one of my opponents were from Washington.
There were a lot of Washington people here. There were a fair amount of East Coasters. I think some, sporadically Midwest, on and off.
Yeah. And also, if you want to get more to see some more people that came to this event, definitely check out our previous video, which is the main gather of the community, which basically kind of gives some perspective of what people are kind of feeling in Shadowverse Evolve and such.
Yeah, that's definitely, we went through a whole interview series. That was definitely fun. So just to overall recap, we pretty much saw a fair amount about what we expected, a fair amount of what we've been seeing in other Last-Chance Qualifiers, a fair amount of Almost Pretty Derby, the highest and newest current set. Be sure to watch the video up here as to Rikka explaining why Almost is a very, very powerful universe to go in with at the current moment. Yeah. We have a fair amount of Dragoncraft did get some, in Bahamut, it got improvements with the discard engine and the inclusion of Oguri Cap and Rico Kashimoto Plank Perfection helped to add additional burn damage, as well as just being able to control the board at times. Those work very well with cards like Draco Message Rights, as well as a fair amount of face Forest Craft. The deck is just very good at comboing off, do a bunch of face damage, Gretchen big boards, silver bolt for game, etc.
Yeah. I definitely say from it, I was expecting to see an overwhelming throw with Dragon, but we also saw a great amount of mixture of Uma and Forest, which are kind of like the main top 3. I also put that sneakily we would see a good amount of Sword, and for me, I played against 2 Swords players. I think the reason why this would be the case is mainly because I still have the great hype on Leonidas, but even then, you just don't have to just play the mid-range side. You can also play, some people like to utilize a hybrid. They like to go aggro at the beginning because you have great access to stuff like Avon Blader to go grab your Novice Troopers, and then you can even just like hard play Novice Troopers if you draw into them.
And if not that, you have your classic foil Fencer and then curve into her with the likes of Royal Banger even. On top of that, we still see some on and off showings of, there's a bit of Aggro Abyss running around, there's a bit of Control Abyss running around, sporadically you see some Control Haven running around. So it's a pretty fair amount of the field. It's just that I don't, we've been hearing a fair amount of players say this current format, we're in collaboration set, 0-1, Uma Musume Pretty Derby, and it kind of is the format of who draws their better cards before their opponent a lot of the time, or who draws the answers to what the opponent could do before the opponent could actually run away with the game.
Yeah. I was going to probably do a future video of Rikka's theory crafting about the impact of going first and the impact of going second too, but I've kind of seen a mixture of that too. I know one of my games, one of my opponent played Uma as first, which I think most of the time you kind of want to go second as Uma Musume because you want to get that extra draw off of it, but again, people have also tried to capitalize with different variants of Uma Musume, such as the Turbo 7CM build, even like the aggro build with Uma Musume, because there's just a lot of...
Right, for example, I could see if you say focus more on cards like Young Sky, that could be why you want to go first.
Yeah.
I definitely have seen that around. I've even seen Mayango Top Gun to just have like an extra access to Keep Storm. That could be very nasty. Or if you play more than one copy of overcoming the encroaching heat, that might be another reason to also go on the play as opposed to on the draw.
Yeah. It's a bit different perspectives. I like seeing what a lot of people do with Uma Musume overall. I think what's really interesting is how confident will people be heading into Worlds, though?
Right, knowing that we see like all the results, people are trying to cook on and off to see if they can come up with the best deck for their, the most favorable matchups and just to be the most favored in that room in Akihabara UDX next month.
Yeah, and the main reason saying this is because the LCQ format will also be utilizing the Worlds format. Set 3 will not be legal during this time.
Right, it'll be literally the Friday right before that weekend. So there will be no Flame of Levitine, more on Flame of Levitine another time.
Yeah, and what I think really it comes down to, I think, at least in my own predictions, I actually feel like this is a bit of thorough bias, but even with bias aside out, Forestcraft value hype is just being really up there because what I originally predicted, and for those who've seen my stream, I've talked about this many times, Forest is being good, but not being elite. However, I think people have figured out a way for Forestcraft to be elite within this current meta.
I think it helps a lot that outside of Dragoncraft, Forestcraft's early board establishing across the rest of Crystalia Kia into a Crystalia Eve token at combo 5 or
combo 3.
Combo 3, I don't know why I said combo 5, my bad.
Well, combo 3, but you have to go evolve tier.
Right, so. but that's fine. And you have access to very powerful draw engines, opening up Miracle Harvest and Nature's Guidance, very powerful opener. On top of having access to Uma Musume cards like Marvelous Sunday and Silent Suzuka first to recur your stuff and stay alive, and 2 for easy storm damage as well as putting your opponent behind the turn with that top deck spin.
Yeah, we didn't do a video actually on the winners losers of Uma Musume, but Forest is an obvious winner here. You of course have Squats, which is one of the amulets that help give Uma Musume +1/+1, and the current meta, it's actually been a really big carry because you have cards like Marvelous Sunday or Yukino Bijin, which are really good cards that help with bouncing utilization, but are also stuff like Bijin has Ward and Sunday can heal too.
On top of that, they can also time cards like 18 Flush to easily bounce opposing cards and directing a 4/4 at the end of it all.
Yeah, I mean, you had a lot of good use of bounce engine stuff like Harvest Festival. You bounce Harvest Festival like drought cards, but you also had Nature's Guidance, which is a good bouncer, Ancient Elf, which is a good bouncer, and also Ward, similar idea, you can Obesian, but you also have it on Evolve.
Right.
But I think the main reason why it's thoroughly seeing success is because people are going more into the Silver Bolt finisher. The reason why people are going into Silver Bolt is because Rose Queen has a good reliancy on a lot of on having a great amount of cards in the EX area, which is usually propped up by fairies. That's why you're kind of seeing people not really going into Aria or really going into the fairies archetype overall.
Right. People have realized like they can easily just make a very, very easy board across Crystalia, Kia, and the like, and easily push the opponent to the point where, again, unless you're playing against Dragon with access to several kits of healers, including Shenlong Evolved, Super Creek, Dark Angel Olivia, some people play Lucifer. Outside of games like that, it's very easy for Forestcraft to just run away with the game with that early aggression, and then Silver Bolt is pretty much unanswerable in just the way Shadowverse evolve as the game is designed.
Yeah. So with that being said, I like to also talk about the other person in the big three, which is your main class, Dragoncraft.
Dragoncraft, yes.
So Dragoncraft has been mostly utilizing a good amount of mixture with Discard Dragon. Some people kind of going more towards a thorough Discard Dragon, or more so even just like the good stuff utilization. So how would you see fare with kind of the status of Dragoncraft right now?
Right. So Dragoncraft, because of what I said earlier, it has access to easy healing along with easy board destruction. Conflagration actually is very common in a lot of Last-Chance Qualifier lists. I would recognize going to say the same into World simply because against decks like Uma Musume who can just scale out across Dialect, Scarlet, Vodka, combo setups, Conflagration helps punish that so hard, and it's very hard for players to come back from that. And Dragon's is able to play in a way where, one, they could stay alive for long enough to start doing a lot of face damage across Dark Dragoon Forte, Oguri Cap, and combo that off with Draco Master's Rights, you're golden.
Yeah, I would also like to mention a card from the Uma Musume set that came, which is Rikka Kashimoto. It has really carried a good amount of Dragoncraft players after seeing some good observation of games, even from your perspective. It's just a really great card that can really deal with stuff that are, especially on unrested. So it's
the ability to go 2-for-1 if an opponent has a engaged bowler and some gets unengaged, that could be a threat if left untouched. Rikka Kashimoto point prevention takes out those two so easily while dealing 3 damage to the opponent. And in Dragoncraft, face damage will add up, and most other classes except outside the mirror can't really heal out of that.
Yeah, and then of course you have the last thing talks about finishers. We of course had Forte as one of the best finishers. Originally it was Genesis Dragon, but now we have Ogre Cap. And this has been interesting because seeing a lot of different lists, people are kind of toying around with the use of carrots. Some people kind of like using it as an all-in finisher, push all 3 carrots and then swing into it with Storm. Another good potential idea is people like to play a few race ting and then just get over the line via one specific
I'm anticipating a 4th carrot for the fact that she is effectively a one-sided Dragon Wings on turn 6 or 7. Sometimes that could come in handy for that strike, deal 3 damage to all enemy followers. That's very nice in combination with the 3 configurations and the 3 Super Wrath that Dragoncraft decks are playing. And again, you just have the ability to just really minimize the damage the opponent could do. And Dragoncraft just has to put itself in a strong position to minimize the damage that the opponent could do, so that it itself can go for the clear and win from there.
Yeah. One thing lastly to mention within Dragoncraft, this is something that I've actually just noticed more so on my side. I feel like people are playing Serpent's Wrath a lot more to capitalize in the late game versus what we've seen in set 1 or set 2, where people like to go, okay, here's the immediate Wrath, and they would play it on the overflow turns. But I've been also seeing a good amount of variants where people are playing it immediately just because we're getting thorough solid bodies. For example, Ancient Flash, when raced, can get a 4/4 or a top road.
Those two being at 4/4, and again, against depending on what kind of horse deck you're playing against, again, Saying Sky has Intimidate. If you don't kick her out immediately, you just end up dying.
Yeah. And then
that happened to me, by the way. I got Saying Sky. She 2 flowers for you, by the way, and flowers for you bumps Saying Sky by 2, not 1.
Yeah, I will also say one more thing on it before. I think the people's use of Shenlong, I think they're pretty comfortable with it, just because we had a video the last time we were doing at Anaheim. But what actually happened is that when people get the Shenlong too, they take thorough full advantage of it, because this is something that if you lose it, you won't get the heal 5, and I think people are prioritizing the heal 5 because it's the only thing out of the deck, unless force
now while there are hands where you just go, yes, you see the 1 Shenlong, it's just unkeepable because you'll just die in the early game.
Correct, yeah.
Now on top of that, the reason why I feel most of those Dragon players are not missing the 2 extra Shenlong is simply because, we have other heal.
Exactly.
Dark Angel Olivia, heal 3 with 1 other ability, draw 1, make the opponent discard 1, getting an Evo point that comes in handy once in a blue moon.
Yeah, and that's also the thing too, is the draw, you're not missing much even too. Discard, you kind of don't miss thoroughly just because you get a good amount of stuff with as people play Wrath in the mid game.
And you're a 4 carrot person in your evolved deck, you probably play Super Quick to be able to let her heal your 5 and gain rush via racing with that 1 flexible carrot. And if you're more say me, you play Lucifer, could be a heal 4, 6, 7 ward, could be an 8/7 Bane, deal 4 damage at end of turn, again burn damage with the likes of Draco Master Strength and so on. Dragoncraft it's a pretty flexible spot in terms of what you could do beyond the basic skeleton of your damage to board cards and your discard engine.
Yeah. And last thing we're going to talk about is kind of the sleeper picks. I feel like almost everything is ironically a sleeper pick.
Swordcraft is because it's able to just kind of swing out the gate and
push. Especially with the changes
if it goes unanswered for the most part, they most likely win.
Yeah. Havencraft, you of course still have the utilization of Aegis. I lost to Aegis painfully myself.
If Havencraft reaches turn 8, turn 9, they probably win.
Yeah, but like I think it's kind of progressed forward. However, with the right hands and the right piloting, I feel like Haven can go kind of far. Kind of like what you saw with Forest overall, with some people notably topping.
Right, Forest Craft figured out that they could play both it basically are like a tempo combo deck where they could make boards early, and if they have to, answer boards accordingly with the likes of Ancient Flash, Silent Suzuka Evolved, etc.
Yeah, and then the last class would be Abysscraft. Now this is the one that I'm actually not as sure of because you have a lot of different builds within Abysscraft.
Right.
Though you're kind of seeing a bit of similar trends that people like to utilize Soul Dealer. And why is that?
Soul Dealer, it's a 4-drop, 6/5. Sure, they take 3, but when you evolve him for 2, you kill any enemy forward and you gain that life back. Again, outside of Dragoncraft, the only class that could really heal that much at one point is when Soul Dealer kills something really big. And if Soul Dealer popped on me on a 10 attack Ogre Cap, I could not come back after that.
But yeah,
and then because of 7/6 with War, that's just so powerful on at times. And not to mention that Control Abysscraft can really slow down opponents' resources. They play cards like Azazel to undo Dragoncraft's healing easily with the Evolved, while also forcing out enough cards that they can play both Crazed Executioner and Dark Angel Olivia on top of that, make the opponent really in for a world of hurt by just losing cards in hand and not be able to play a game at some point, as well as access to Death Breath to be able to reanimate things that end up in the cemetery. Alucard's that died in the later part of the game, or Azazel again. There's all sorts of crazy things you could do. Aggro Abyss is a little tricky because I think you can't. It's a very high roll deck where you can't put the opponent at single digits by your 5th turn. I think you auto lose.
Yeah, it is one of the more popular builds though, because I think a lot of people just like the thorough push of aggro, but they don't want to be in a I gotta go grab XYZ from Swordcrafter, for example. So they it's kind of
the problem is Abysscraft has to bank a little more on soul conversion.
But I think people like to roll the dice, so personally.
Right. I mean, as I said earlier in the video, this format is still kind of low powered, and with a low power format like this, whoever draws their better cards, like their key cards earlier, whoever draws their answer cards at the right time, that person is favored. Some people just feel like this format is currently a little too swingy for their taste. They're waiting for, say, Flame of Levitine in February, where things get a little more decisions matter sort of format, as opposed to did I draw X, Y, or Z? I did, I die.
That makes sense. But yeah, I guess to conclude within the video, I think it's pretty obvious of what the big 3 are. It's going to be probably Dragon, Uma, and Forest, not in no particular order.
Yeah.
I think it could be that exact order.
I think those 3 are definitely the most favored by far.
Yeah, and then I honestly think people should not sleep on Sword. That's going to be my main bold pick to potentially
I wouldn't
win
call it that
Worlds.
bold.
I mean, think about this, right? I feel like a lot of people have dropped Sword to the point that it feels a shame that that's going to be happening, but again, with this being the world basically, I feel like people can really sneak in a good amount of thorough push. If not that, then maybe Umusume. So I'd say my honest pick for Worlds, it still depends on kind of how big the field is in the main turnout, but I honestly would not be surprised if I saw Swordcraft, which is going to be probably my pick to possibly win Worlds. How about yourself?
Yeah, definitely I would say it's a close, I would say Dragon favor, with Force being a very close second. Because if Forestcraft has the edge, if Dragoncraft cannot heal enough on camera, cannot answer its early board establishment on time.
Yeah, and then I would say Haven is the other sleeper. I think it's a bit tricky though because the format has kind of gone a bit faster than expected. But if Haven possibly wins Worlds, then it's mainly due to the utilization of piloting, because you have to pilot the deck really well. And if you're able to do that, then you can go far.
I would say you would need a very, very good knowledge of your major matchups going into the event.
Yeah.
What do you target with Physical Culture? What do you target with your Black in Scripture?
Yeah.
When to use Beast Card, or if you play Kaguya, when do you use Kaguya as opposed to another turn?
The ironic part is that the Uma deck I play is a similar concept of what the Haven deck entails. It's you have all these opportunities, when do you want to take them? So there's that too. And yeah, that's pretty much on it too. So I'd say I'd say more so myself. Just for funsies, I guess this is probably going to be aged poorly. But I got Sword probably winning the event mainly because I feel like if people capitalize on Sword well, and I feel like people have kind of forgotten about Sword right after both the hits and such.
Like for example, Swordcraft did get access to Tokai KO as another Storm.
Yeah, and even then you have Albert double swing, and if you're already at Leonidas Resolve, that's still pretty good. And even then, I think
very few people are getting in 4 for the Execution or Fiery Embrace or Acolyte's Light. That pretty much never happens these days.
Yeah. A low profile selection would honestly be Royal Banner too. This card I feel like is so dropped on or basically slept on. And a lot of people have dropped it thoroughly in the past, but honestly, it is still a good card that you can potentially add within your deck.
And not to mention, Swordcraft could still play Umbrella Fury to deal with some early board aggression from their opponents, depending.
Yeah. Other than that, that's been pretty much it on this team. But actually, do you want to say like a potential prediction to what you want to see within Worlds? Because this is basically a.
I would like to see Control Abyss win Worlds to let people know what they have to expect when we enter BPO4 Cosmic Mythos. This is just a mere preview of what you are going to see.
Yeah, but what would you actually say for in a more...
Are you saying, right? Dragon with Force being a close second.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Those are more of the safe options. I'm going to kind of go over a bold pick because I feel like people will get more surprised at the use of Sword, but even then, you even have Heat, as we talked about too, which was like my X Factor card from Uma Musume. If you basically make everything become a good utilization of Storm, sure, it doesn't get the +1/+1 that's not Uma Musume, but making anything thoroughly a Storm is very underrated, and that might be also a potential feature use of video.
Definitely. So with that, hope you all enjoy watching that. We continue to embrace the guards, and we'll see you all over in the next video. Bye-bye.